Daddy, buy this.
As I was doing trial sales, a boy around 5 years old approached.
Oh well.
When I looked up at the familiar voice, it was my husband. Next to him, a woman who seemed to be the child's mother was also smiling, appearing like a happy family. My husband didn't seem to notice me wearing a mask. This one is recommended. When I spoke up, my husband finally seemed to notice, turned pale, and quickly left the scene. Watching his back, I felt a burning determination. Now, how shall I corner him? Please witness the tumultuous developments that unfold after this until the end. Wait. Bankruptcy. A few months ago, I was suddenly informed by my boss about something shocking, leaving me stunned. My name is Nancy, 31 years old. The company I had been working for since graduating from college was going under due to the impact of the recession. When my husband Jason came home from work, I reported the news to him with a grim expression. In response, he furrowed his brows.
Bankruptcy. So what are we going to do now? I'm not okay with supporting you.
We've been married for 6 years and we don't have any children. He's a salaried worker at a medium-sized company. He seemed busy with work, often going on business trips at that time. I have no choice but to look for a job where I can work as a regular employee. As I said that, he raised his eyebrows.
No, you'll continue to contribute to our finances from next month. Whether it's part-time or temporary, just find a stable job while looking for a permanent one.
All right, I'll do that. And so, I immediately registered with a temp agency and started job hunting while working. I was dispatched to do sampling sales at a trendy warehouse-style store. My job is to prepare product samples, offer them to customers, and recommend the products. It was unfamiliar territory for me, but seeing customers' smiles and feeling a sense of fulfillment when they picked up the products I was selling made it worthwhile. I wanted to talk to Jason about this job, so when he returned from his business trip, I approached him. Hey Jason, today at work.
I'm not interested in hearing about your job. It's just temp work anyway, right?
Without even listening to me, Jason urged me to bring him a beer. As I prepared his evening drink, I couldn't help but feel lonely. Since we both worked, we've shared household chores since we got married. He has a lot of overtime and business trips, so I used to do a lot of the chores, but even when he's home, he helps with household tasks, so I didn't particularly feel any dissatisfaction. However, one day, Jason, your chores are piling up, I said, and my husband, who was fiddling with his phone nearby, looked annoyed.
Can't you handle it yourself? Besides, starting today, all the household chores are your responsibility.
He said. Huh. I stared at him in disbelief, but he remained unfazed. But we agreed to split the household chores when we got married. I protested.
That was when you were a full-time employee, right? Now you're just a temp, so you should do all the household chores.
Jason replied as if it were the most obvious thing. Despite explaining that I work as a temp from morning till evening and barely have a day off due to job hunting, he didn't listen.
You're just a temp, after all.
He repeated. In the end, I gave in, and since then, I've been doing all the household chores by myself. About 2 weeks later, Jason returned home and clicked his tongue disdainfully at the dinner I had prepared.
What's with this dinner? There are only 2 side dishes, and the main dish is so lackluster.
He complained. I had a long day at work today, so this is all I could manage. I'm sorry. I frowned, but Jason continued to blame me.
I'm tired from work. I don't want to come home to such a crappy meal.
Insulted by his dismissal of my cooking, I snapped. I work too. I can't make elaborate meals every day. Then Jason sneered.
What's with all this working talk? You're just a temp, yet acting all high and mighty.
He scoffed. You say that with disdain, but being a temp is still a respectable job.
You don't do any housework, but you sure love to talk back, huh? You're nothing but a parasite. Can't live without me, huh?
What? I was shaken by Jason's shocking words. Did he just call me a parasite?
I'm such a kind guy, playing the host to a parasite like you.
He continued with a laugh.
But don't think I'll pamper you forever. Get a job ASAP if you understand.
With that, he He spat out those words and stormed off to his room. That day, for the first time, thoughts of divorce crossed my mind. Since then, Jason continued to criticize my housework and look down on me as a temp. I endured that life. About a month later, I was once again doing grape tasting sales at the same warehouse-style store as before. Perhaps due to it being a weekend, the store was bustling with customers, many of whom were families pushing carts and shopping. It was Sunday, but I had scheduled work because my husband was on a business trip. Before long, amidst the crowd, a boy around 5 years old ran up to me and pointed at the grapes.
Can I have these?
I need permission from your parents first. Though there was a rule against giving samples to children without parental consent, the boy's mother, who arrived later, gave her approval, so I handed over the grapes.
I'm going to be in the grape group soon.
Oh, is that what they call the groups at your nursery school or kindergarten? That's unusual. As I said this, the mother joined the conversation.
That's how our nursery school works. We have other groups like the apple group and the peach group.
While chatting, a man who appeared to be the child's father arrived late.
Dad, buy these.
At that moment, I was stunned. The person this unknown child referred to as Dad was supposed to be Jason, who was away on a business trip. Why was he here? I wore a hat and a mask, so he didn't notice me. My husband said,
Well, let's buy something for John's promotion celebration.
Jason, the boy, and the woman laughing in front of me looked like a happy family. At that moment, I realized everything. Though I wanted to confront my husband immediately, I couldn't argue in front of the kids while at work. With a sense of unease, I managed to speak up. These grapes are recommended. Suddenly, my husband's face turned pale as he finally noticed me. He hastily said,
Well, shall we go now?
And quickly left with the woman and the child. Unable to leave my post, I watched them leave, burning with determination. Now, how should I corner him? After work, I called Jason multiple times, but he didn't pick up, only sending a brief email.
Still on a business trip. We'll be back in 3 days.
What excuses does he plan to come up with in those 3 days? Well then, I'll play hardball too. After taking a deep breath, I organized my thoughts. Jason and I are filing our marriage papers together, so there's no mistaking that I'm his wife. But who are that woman and child? Determined to uncover the truth, I decided to find the woman first and have a conversation with her. So, I researched the nurseries around my workplace and identified the one named after a fruit. The next day, Monday, I stationed myself at the nursery's entrance in the evening. Suddenly, the woman with the child from yesterday appeared. I hesitantly addressed her. There's something important I need to discuss about your husband, please contact me here. Despite her suspicious expression, I mustered the courage to give her my contact details. Though she seemed to have a concerned look, she was urged by the boy.
Mom, hurry.
And left hastily. All I could do now was wait for her response, but there was a possibility she might find it suspicious and ignore it. What if that happens? I was anxious. However, I received a late-night call, and we arranged to meet.
Who are you? What's this about?
When I explained that I was the sample saleswoman from yesterday, she was surprised. Where's your son now? I asked.
My husband is watching him.
She replied, and I promptly revealed. That man is my husband. I showed her photo albums, residency certificates, and such to convey the truth. She was taken aback.
That's terrible,
she uttered, her voice trembling as she began to speak.
My name is Amy. I divorced my ex-husband and became a single mother due to his infidelity. I run my own business.
According to Amy, she met Jason 2 years ago. He confessed his feelings, and they started dating. Her son John also grew fond of Jason, and recently they were practically living together, she said.
We were planning to get married soon. I never imagined he was married. I'm truly sorry, even though I didn't know.
I recounted to her the things Jason had done and said to me, then asked her. I intend to divorce him. What about you? She opened up with a look of disgust on her face.
I can't forgive someone who cheats. Just like with my ex-husband. My love and trust for him have completely dried up. But it's infuriating. I want to get revenge on him in a grand way.
I couldn't help but sympathize with Amy's furious expression and said, "Me too." In agreement. And so, we decided to collaborate with each other. You know, that thing you mentioned earlier could be useful for revenge, don't you think? After that, Amy and I schemed our revenge plan against Jason. And so, 3 days after I witnessed Jason's affair, I heard the sound of the front door opening while at home, so I dashed out. "Welcome. Would you like to try some samples?" My husband froze in confusion. It's no wonder, he found me in our house wearing the sample sales uniform and holding a tray, even though I was technically at work.
What on earth are you doing?
He exclaimed. With Jason visibly flustered, I presented him with a bite-sized piece of salmon skewered on a toothpick. "Fresh salmon. Dad, please have a taste." No matter what he said, I kept insisting, so he gave in and tried the salmon. "How is it? Delicious, right?" My husband stammered.
Well, so, what are you? Huh?
Suddenly, Amy, also dressed as a sample saleswoman, appeared.
"It's not fair if you get all the attention. How about some squid?"
My husband exclaimed.
Huh? Why is Amy here?
He seemed on the verge of collapsing, but Amy, with a smile, just offered him the squid. Finally, Jason even tried the squid. As Jason chewed with wide-eyed confusion, Amy and I smiled at him. "How does it taste?" My husband stuttered.
It's delicious. Why exactly?
My husband, still unable to grasp the situation, was flustered being caught between his wife and his mistress. "Well, how about you explain things properly from your own mouth from now on?" Amy and I immediately put on stern expressions and sat Jason down on the sofa between us. "You know what we want to hear, don't you?" My husband, who had been silent and looking down, eventually seemed to resign himself and began mumbling. He explained that he initially thought of Amy as just a casual fling, but he couldn't pull away after becoming attached to her child. He admitted to continuing the double life because he didn't want to pay alimony or divide assets with me. "What? You deceived us for such reasons?" I was incredulous at his casual attitude. My husband interjected.
Amy is a business owner and financially more stable than you. So, I plan to break up with you soon and marry her.
That's just too selfish. When I glared at Jason for brazenly spouting such words, he became enraged.
Besides, there's no benefit for me to be with a temp worker like you. You're just a parasite.
Then, he turned to Amy, and as if he were about to propose, he kneeled before her.
Amy, you're the only one I love. I'll break up with this woman and be with you. And hey, you were looking for someone to take care of John, right? How about I become a stay-at-home husband?
Amy firmly rejected his extended hand.
"What? I refuse a lying man like you."
Huh?
Jason seemed dumbfounded, not expecting to be rejected. That's when Amy launched another attack.
"A stay-at-home husband? Don't make me laugh. I have no intention of supporting a money-grubbing parasite."
Don't say that. I love you.
No matter what my husband said afterwards, Amy remained resolute.
"I'll be claiming alimony from you. I've already spoken to a lawyer."
Upon hearing those words, Jason's face contorted, and he turned to me, seeking solace.
I'm sorry, Nancy. You're the only one for me. Let's continue to live happily together. So, you'll help with the alimony payments, right?
I took a deep breath and then retorted sharply. "Don't be ridiculous. I have no intention of starting over with you. We're getting a divorce. You'll pay for your infidelity with alimony and asset division, so be prepared."
But,
Left dumbfounded by both me and Amy's rejections, my husband wore a bewildered expression for a moment. However, his expression gradually twisted, and he started sweating profusely.
I need to use the bathroom.
Clutching his stomach, my husband rushed into the bathroom. After a moment of unbearable noises, he stumbled out with a pale face. "Oh? What's wrong?"
My stomach.
Being someone with a weak stomach and a dislike for seafood, he was already in a delicate state. So, I furrowed my brows and spoke up. "Hey, I'm sorry. Come to think of it, maybe that salmon earlier was meant to be cooked. Amy also chimed in with a half smile directed at Jason.
Oh, maybe my squid was the same.
Upon hearing that, Jason's face turned even paler.
Hey Nancy, weren't we supposed to cook squid and salmon to prevent those things from latching onto us?
I nodded solemnly at Amy's words. Ah, this guy's favorite parasites.
Are you kidding me?
With a shout, Jason returned to the bathroom. Amy and I exchanged a high five in front of the bathroom door. In reality, the seafood we served was slightly past its expiration date and free of parasites. Jason, overwhelmed by our pressure, simply had an upset stomach. However, he mistook it for parasites and rushed to the hospital in a panic, which was comical in itself. I eventually divorced Jason. I received $250,000 in alimony and half of our savings through asset division. True to her word, Amy claimed $20,000 in alimony from Jason. As it turns out, Amy's company had a cooperative relationship with Jason's company. Amy reported the whole ordeal to his company and terminated the partnership, leading to Jason's actions becoming known throughout the company. Eventually, he resigned from his job to take responsibility for his actions. Jason currently lives in a rundown apartment, working multiple jobs to repay the debt he incurred for the alimony to both me and Amy. His life, plagued by the fear of being chased by creditors, is surely far from peaceful, but I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. As for myself, I was fortunate enough to be hired by one of Amy's business associates, where I am now a full-time employee. I still maintain a friendly relationship with Amy and her son John, meeting them for tea from time to time. Moving forward, I want to cherish what I have left and live my life with a positive outlook.